Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Love podcast. I'm so happy you're here. I am. I'm happy you came to class today because I have a very important topic. Female domination. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm the Commandress. I roleplay as teacher, and you consent to being a student by listening. That's so fun for me. Puts a big smile on my face that you do that for me. Thank you. So, a very kind and generous student sent me some books. I mentioned wanting to read a book by this woman, Elise Sutton. And he sent me all 3 of her books. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Well, this is really how my area of study has evolved, because men have led the way into submission. So this book, I can't say these books because I'm only reading one so far. And I teach what I learn. And female domination, this woman writes about as a psychologist. And I'm going to start with the very, very beginning. In her dedication, first page, she says, "To my husband, thank you for teaching me that real masculinity is expressed through genuine submission. Your life is a living testimony that man is exalted only when he is willing to be humbled. You are the 24/7 love of my life." Oh, gosh. How sweet is that? Well, I hope that's got your attention. Maybe it stimulated your body in some way, made you sit up or sit back, down on your knees. Well, whatever it did, I want you to get comfortable because I'm going to pull different excerpts out of this book. And why I'm sharing this is because I myself am in the process of writing a book called Confessions, and your participation is requested. Because what she's talking about here very much has to do with my own research. So this book landing in my lap as of yesterday is so timely because my own research is concluding things that she has written about, and I think you want to hear. And I want your confession. Email me, commandress@mainmail.us, or go to myhigherkingdom.com and click on the link on the welcome page right next to a picture of me. I have many different looks. So check it out and know that your voice matters. Include your first name, or what name you want to go by, how old you are, and what city or country you live in, deciding on how personal you want those three things to be. They can be true or not, but your age range is important, if not exact age, and that you consent to this being shared and that you remain anonymous. It is on behalf of mankind and the healing of men that this book is being written. Allow that to be known. And may the proceeds help create a space where more teachings and events can take place for men that do want to learn and grow. So let me begin here. She starts out by saying that she majored in psychology and minored in sociology, and she wanted to use her education in a way that inspired her. And one of her friends encouraged her to become a professional dominatrix, and she declined. But she remained an active member in the DNS, domination and submission community. And she eventually decided to combine two of her loves in life, female domination and psychology. I love that. I love that. And she offered counseling if a male client wanted to better understand why he desired to be sexually dominated by a woman. She placed an ad in the city paper, and in a short amount of time, she had a small but loyal clientele. How sweet. Over the next decade, she developed a larger clientele, offering a combination of professional female domination, counseling, and practical advice. Love this woman. So she said she'd grown up in a typical patriarchal, male-dominated household. And it was through her community that allowed her to open up more. And what she discovered is that men desired to be sexually dominated by a woman. She says, I have discovered that a person's core nature expresses itself in the sexual realm through different sexual desires, which I'm very much intrigued about because I work with men, and by talking with men, how they open up emotionally is when they can relate to and express around their sexuality. She writes, to the novice, a man that desires to be on the bottom during intercourse is normal, but a man who desires to be spanked or whipped by a woman is perverted. However, I have come to understand that both of these desires stem from the same core desire. That desire is to be sexually dominated by a woman. It's not perverted. It is expressed differently, but it is the same deep-rooted motivation. Yes. The desire of the male gender is to be dominated and ruled by the female gender. Female domination is loving female authority. There's a natural born desire within men that causes them to desire to be dominated by a woman. I believe that males are born with this desire, and I also believe that this desire is enhanced through a man's childhood experience with his female authority figure. A male is carried in the womb of a woman. He is birthed into the world by a woman. He is nurtured at the breasts of a woman. He is disciplined by the loving hands of a woman. And he is loved and comforted by a woman. There's a special bond between a young boy and his mother or female guardian. Part of this is sexual. Most of the time, a young boy is bathed, caressed, nurtured, and spanked by adult female authority figures. And this stirs submissive desires within young boys. When they reach adolescence, a lot of boys begin to experiment with their sexuality as they are curious and drawn to the female, her beauty, and her mysterious ways. As an adult, he still longs for the feeling of his childhood, where his mother or female guardian punished him. But then afterwards, he would be hugged and nurtured by the same woman who punished him. Punishment and love go hand in hand. That is what loving female authority is all about. So she talks a little bit about, did I disrupt something there? How is this feeling in your body just to hear it? She speaks about a history of how where did the dominatrix come from? Females have always been smart businesswomen. In the old days, there were not too many professions that society would allow women to be employed in. Prostitution is said to be the world's oldest profession, and some women chose this guaranteed profit maker due to a lack of career choices. Isn't that funny how patriarchy was controlling that they couldn't work, and then the job that they took on, then patriarchy deemed it illegal? Just think about that. And dirty. They made it dirty. What many ladies of the evening discovered is that when they asked a potential client what it was that he desired sexually, most of them would say that they wanted to be dominated. Isn't that funny how patriarchy controls everything, and yet really it's inverted? What he truly needs, he's not getting. Just think about it. But today, the majority of professional dominant women have never been employed as prostitutes. No intercourse or oral sex is happening with most dominant women. They have come to realize that the male urge to submit to a dominant woman is so strong that they're willing to pay and to be dominated by a woman outside of their marriage. Some men are afraid to admit to their submissive desires to their wives or girlfriend because they fear they will be rejected or called a pervert. So they seek out submissive fulfillment with a professional female dominant. The fascinating thing is that only a true dominant woman can satisfy a man's submissive nature. Yes. Of course, the desire for female domination is nothing new. The book Venus in Furs by Leopold von Sacher-Masoch was written over 150 years ago. It was about a man with a strong masochistic and submissive fantasy. He worships the goddess Venus, and he pursues his fantasies when he meets a wealthy woman named Wanda, with whom he starts a romance. He tells her of his masochism and his desire to be her slave. She agrees to indulge his fantasy out of her love for him, but ends up loving being a dominant and a sadistic woman, and exceeds his wildest expectations. She ends up taking her man deeper into submission to her. And he goes further than he ever dared fantasize about. So this opens a man to his emotional well-being. This opens a man to his spiritual well-being. A society that has told men constantly that their emotions were bad, to feel is weak. This dynamic takes them out of the ordinary into something that is said you cannot have. And it helps open them up. Men are leading the way that this is what they want. It wasn't a female's idea. In fact, if we think about our parents fighting when we were young, if you were in an atmosphere like that, they weren't able to express their own sexuality, and it tortured them. This may not be everyone, but it is far more common than you realize. So the German neurologist Richard von Krafft-Ebing coined the word masochist from the sexual desires of Leopold von Sacher-Masoch. His last name was Masoch. How about that? Masochism got named after the guy that desired it. Leather whips masochism? So is female domination really S&M? Hardly. Female domination is a broad umbrella with many forms and expressions. And today, domination and submission, DNS, is an abbreviation. It has replaced S&M more in the circles of people that practice the lifestyle. But there are so many men that live in silence over this. They don't know how to go about even expressing they have this. That's why you can confess to the commandress. Because taking it out of your mind and expressing it changes the charge in it. It helps to liberate the shame of it, because I'm not going to judge you. And believe me, I have seen some confessions that will make your jaw drop. Yes. Some of the confessions are very intimate, very sexual, and some are men just going back to the first time that they discovered their sexuality, or saw their mother naked, and how they felt in their body. to having a neighborhood boy do something that made them really uncomfortable, but there's a shame around it that creates an opportunity for freedom. She goes on to say, one must understand the submissive male to understand how the female domination lifestyle is fulfilling to him. And let me just bring up one point here. Submissive men they are usually men in power. They want an opportunity to not be in power. These aren't all men that just are visually and obviously submissive. No, this is a side of most men. These are even alpha males. Isn't it funny, in our society they put out 50 Shades of Grey, and look how they inverted. You're always seeing the female being held down. Well, I'm going to turn the table over on that. She goes on to say, not every female dominant relationship is the same. Some are more advanced than others based on the desires of the individuals involved. This is why confessions are important. Gives you the opportunity to discover what it is you desire. I believe that within our desires, we find more of who we are. And there's usually a shit ton of shame on them. Regardless of the degree of the female domination activities, I have found that a majority of the couples who practice female domination claim to have better marriages and relationships than they did prior to practicing female domination. They claim to enjoy deeper intimacy and more fulfilling sex lives. This makes perfect sense because a female domination relationship requires trust and honesty. When a man trusts his wife enough to open up to her about his deepest, most hidden desires, this sets the stage for intimacy on a more meaningful level. How sad that so many men must keep hidden their innermost being from the woman they have chosen to share their life with. This is why I'm using my voice and allowing you to remain anonymous, because this needs to be brought out in the open. This needs to be unleashed, unearthed, and may a sponsor find my podcast so that I can propel out into the world and demonstrate classrooms where men can enter and experience an hour class where they are curious and open, willing to sit in a classroom. You can wear a disguise if you need to, but there will be a form of consent. But you get to experience in a classroom, and no, you're not going to take your clothes off, but to feel your senses when certain things are said and done, for you to feel that charge in you. To see someone that may be asked to do something, everything's consensual. That's very important. And that is what female domination is about, that's clear from the start, because the men do guide this. But in a classroom setting, a man can sense and feel things, not on a screen, No phones allowed. This is you getting into your body and experiencing something and knowing, wow, I really want to explore that more with my girlfriend, with my wife, or with a professional where I can try that and hear that. Confessions are so important, and I plan to take this globally and take confessions in person because I see how liberating it is for men. It allows you to be very vulnerable. I guide you and lead you into a deeper part of you. And what I have found is that men don't even realize that they're guiding themselves, but there's a guide there walking with them. That female authority creates a safety for him to go to places that a cruel world told him not to go. That is bad to feel, that he's weak to have emotions. And yet when he is unleashed in a wild abandonment, he finds primal parts of himself that make him come alive. He feels young and free, clear and grounded. Men need that. It's a lifeblood, and they deserve that. So in the heart of this teaching, yes, I thank you for being in class today. Please like, oh yes, please like and follow Sex, Lies, and Love podcast so that other men do not remain in silence over their desires, wants, and needs, where no one stands alone or in shame, but instead is invited to free themselves. This is a community of men who stand together in a place of freedom with the commandress by their side. Find my website at myhigherkingdom.com. Hit the link on the welcome page next to one of my pictures and email me your confession. It may be something you did and feel shameful for. It may be something you saw. It may be something you want done to you. But be specific. 2 or 3 paragraphs. It can be longer, but be specific. Some men have written, oh, I smelled my sister's underwear. And they'll just write like 2 sentences. Like, let's get some details. You have to get a little vulnerable. Tell me your name, first name only, age, where you live, and the experience, how it made you feel, what age you were, what you enjoyed about it or didn't, what was difficult, what was not difficult. Give me some details because your voice matters. Thank you. I appreciate you. Class. Dismissed.